Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. I am Ron Smith, and this is the Dr. Ron Smith Investigating Show, where we separate the real from fake, the fact from fiction, and give you the winner's edge. And sometimes we're able to turn your water into wine. Today is episode number 20, and we're going to talk about the trouble of building wealth. The trouble of building wealth. One of the hot topics of what's going on in Wall Street Journal and all the business network is that for the last couple of weeks, we have heard about Bed, Bath, and Beyond. And basically, they filed for bankruptcy protection, which means that they are in the process of selling off assets. And they have terminated its 401k retirement plan. So, one of the things I know for sure is the 401k retirement plan is one of the things that I would say at least 75 to 80% of the current employees are banking on that for their retirement. They're using the 401k, Social Security, and any other investments as part of their retirement plan. Now, prior to this episode, I was introduced to what if a person is actually in the process of, I guess, living paycheck to paycheck. And I can't even put it in any other different aspect of that. And let's say they're making between 16, 18, 20 dollars an hour. How can they, earn a living? How can they make a savings, and how can they invest? And one of the things that I feel your pains, first of all. And the only thing that I can really share with you is that there are ways that basically you can, let's say, if I worked at Walmart, and basically, I am very stressed for working at Walmart. So I do my 8 to 10 or, plus hours, and I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. If you have, I encourage you to what we call a side hustle. I know my I have a sister, and I have my mother-in-law. They sell Avon as a quote unquote side hustle. So basically, they are in a I guess a retail situation where the more clients that they have, they are be able to expand their income. I know, I think Avon and Mary Kay is one of the two things off the top of my head, especially for female entrepreneurs. And that way, basically, you can somewhat ease the burden of some of the day-to-day income challenges that you might have. But one of the things I know the trouble of building wealth is there's some basic things that you have to have is you have to have the ability to make everyday transaction. So without a savings in a checking account and being able to be bankable, you have to go to the check cashing places. If you go to those check cashing services, they're going to charge you at least 3%. On your pay check. And part of the reason why each of these major banks are limiting the number of branches they have in the neighborhood. So the ability to make everyday transaction is part of the trouble of building wealth. And having access to credit. One of the major things that you can do with the credit is what I call using other people's money. Basically, if you want to purchase a car or a house, that fundamentally, basically, you have to put, either way from 4 to 10 to 20% down in order to get a big ticket item. In order to actually maximize that, you have to have the appropriate credit score. And as I said, I think episode 8, 9, or 10 is that basically the credit scores from 300 to 850. And one of the things that we have to learn how to do is to establish a good credit number. Now, one of the things that had hurt me in the past is that I didn't know how to build credit, which means that basically I was giving a credit card when I was in college without a job, and I didn't understand the dynamics of actually having a credit card, which means that first of all, you are it is considered a short-term loan, which means that basically I should be able to pay it off within that pay period, within whether it's 27 to 30 days before it overlaps, because that would cost me more money. I didn't realize that. Second of all, I didn't understand about the utilization, which means that basically if I had $1,000 limit on my credit card, I shouldn't go past $250 and max out at three. That should be the limit, and I should be understand that. See, those things wasn't, I didn't have access to that kind of information. And the second thing is that if you have a low credit score, that can dictate you to home ownership, which means that basically, yes, you can purchase a home or you can purchase a vehicle, but it would cost you more than someone who have, let's say, a 700 score and you only have a 550 to maybe 600. And see, those are the things that I wish I had learned in the past. I wish I had been in an environment to know those things. So basically, that is the platform or reason why I'm doing this podcast, because I want to educate the new generation and pass on some information to the people who are currently in the I'll call that the debt swamp, and how you can actually get out of it. And one of the things I know for sure is that basically one medical expense can actually wipe you out. And if you don't have a rainy day or a emergency fund, and I just went through a series of vehicle expenses that was never part of my budget, and those things can be budget busters if you are really running your budget real tight. And we're going to talk about some of the fundamentals, which mean that how are you able to save for the big goals, the rainy day funds, the long term, when you're working paycheck to paycheck. And it's a very difficult scenario. And one of the things I want to just share with you, you're not alone. Even though you're not employed at the Bed Bath and Beyond, some of these other corporations are teetering on bankruptcy, and they probably have just hadn't told you about it yet. And if you think about it, if the government, because of their political situation, was up to a point where defaulting on their debt, you can imagine the trickle down effect of that. So one of the things I will share, and while we aren't talking about 401k, make sure you read the fine print and make sure that there's my advice for the 401k. And if you have one, make sure you max out if you can, at least max the contributing to your company, and see if you can get what they call a target date fund. Target date fund is basically if you're new to the company and new with your 401k, you could be more aggressive in your investments. And if you're like you already got 20 years or 30 years or close to 40 years, those are the target date when you get prepared to retire. There are more of the minimal risk type investments. So, and another form is see if you can get your 401k to be annuity, which means basically you have done the numbers and basically I need X amount of dollars to retire. Let's say that, okay, maybe I have a portfolio where I need, let's say, between $6,000 and $7,000 in retirement funds, which is a percentage of what I make. The annuity will pay you that amount per month, so you can maintain your standard of living. But here's the thing that we must get a grip on. We have to have a mindset that we're going to take as much control over our situation as possible. And that means basically getting back to basics. And back to basics for me is that basically how you planning on earning or creating your income, which means that if you're in college now, you need to look for those professional jobs, whether there be, doctors, attorneys, marketing, and right now the highest paid professions are in entertainment, whether it be the music side, or is it the sports side, or being an influencer, which means that basically those are the positions are scalable, but those will always be the higher income type jobs. Number two, managing what you have, which means that basically you have to understand the cash flow in and the cash flow out. And the only way that you could do that is creating your budget, which means knowing what your income and know what your expenses are. With that in mind, I said before, I used the 40, 30, 20, 10 breakout, which means basically 40% on what you need. The 30% is the wants. The 20% is saving and investing, and 10% as far as tithing, donations. Now, the flexibility within that needs, basically housing, groceries, those vital things that you have to have per every day are the needs, and the wants are clothing, entertainment, cable, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the two main areas I think that you should be able to massage and make sure that you can actually maximize what you're doing. Now, the saving part is that even if you're not, I know you probably won't save $500 per month, or you probably want to save $300, and you might want to save $100, but make sure that you're at least doing at least $50 or whatever you can. So, because the whole idea is to get into the mindset that I am moving forward. I know it's going to be very difficult for you to actually do that, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck. But the point is that one of my favorite books is called The Richest Man in Babylon. And the caveat that I got out of the book is basically you have to pay yourself first. Now, paying yourself first, and that means that basically you have to be doing something to be moving forward, which I know that is very difficult. We're going to take a quick break right now, and we're going to get back into getting back to basics. Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. This is episode 20, and we're talking about the trouble of building wealth. And basically, whether you are affluent or basically whether you're struggling paycheck to paycheck, we are all going through this economic situation that we probably haven't experienced this in a whole lot of times. And I probably in the last 40 years, things had just moved on a different level. I would never have thought, even 40 years ago, that Bed Bath and Beyond would be called filing bankruptcy protection, and basically they would be selling off their assets, and basically they were actually in the process of terminating their 401k retirement plan, which means that basically the employees who invested in the company that they work for are going to be losing some money. And we're not talking about, I mean, no one can, afford to lose $1,000, but we're talking about 10,000 and maybe 20,000 or even more. And maybe in my next show, we'll talk about diversification in your investment strategy. So you won't put all your money in one basket. So basically, just a quick recap. We talk about an ability to make everyday transaction, basically making sure that you're bankable. And with the current climate where even the major banks are pulling out of certain neighborhoods, it's kind of difficult to do that. And if you don't have a regular checking and savings account, you know the check cashing services will charge you 3%. And having access to credit, and basically, if you a credit report is really just giving you a history of what you have done in the past, which means that basically, if you are up to the 750 to 850, that means that you got an 8+, and then you could from 600 and 680, that means that basically you're in a B. But if you're in the 550 and below, that means that basically you're probably going to pay more. So, and what I mean by that is that in order to buy a large ticket item, whether it's a car or whether it's a home, you're going to have to what I call use OPM, other people's money. So when you go to a financial institution or a bank, it's going to cost you more because first thing they're going to ask you, and they may not even ask you that. They're going to just get your basic information and they're going to run you through their system, and they're going to find out what your credit score is. And basically, and they'll look at your credit report, which basically tell them how you have been using your credit, and basically your credit history, what you've been doing, have you been paying on time, have you had any late payments, have you had any non-payments, and how long you've been actually using credit. And the thing about it is that, and I mentioned, I think this was episode 6, where I shared with you basically the best way to start that is that if you have a son or daughter or somebody close to you, you can help them build credit by putting them on your card or a card where you know that you're going to be paying off every month. That basically, and in order to get a 850 or 800 credit score, you're going to have to at least have 10 years of good payment history. And I shared back to in episode 1 is that I, being a professional, and one of my first, I guess, realization about banking is that I applied for getting a particular vehicle, which was like a BMW, and basically they told me what the interest rate was. And then I met some of my peers who had those same vehicle, and I didn't know that their parents had set them up for success, which means basically they had good credit because they had a positive credit history. Well, I told you about me getting my first credit card, which means that I overused it. And even though I was paying it back, the point was that I never realized that I shouldn't only use 30%. Therefore, that reflected on my credit report. So those are some of the things that that I talk about on the show, that hopefully you will pass that on to your son or daughter or somebody that that basically that repaying back your debts are very important, because that is one of the things that's going to stay with you. And your credit score will dictate your home ownership, which is another big thing, and your medical debt. All these things are tied into being able to be financial literacy. And it's very difficult to live paycheck to paycheck if you're not able to save for the big ticket items, and what I don't like to use the term rainy day or emergency fund, because exactly what's going to happen. But the long-term plan, those are the things that that's going to be affected by what you do. So the best way to get back on track, to have the money mindset, and to control what you're doing, you got to get back to basics, which means that I have 5 things that that I shared with you, and I'll continue to share with you: how you earn and create your money, how you manage it, how you leverage it, how you protect it, and building a legacy. And the thing about it is that once you have established yourself in a career, you are locked into what that employer or will dictate what your value is. And one of the things that, when I do have an opportunity to talk to a young person who's getting ready to launch out into their career, is that, especially in college, whatever your major is, are you getting a return on your investment? I like to use the analogy is that if I'm going to be going, let's say if I'm going to be in a teacher profession, will a state university or a private school give me a better return on investment with the career choice that I make? And that's something that I know we always say that we need to do what we love, and that's very true to a certain extent. But financially, and we talk about a return on investment, that's a whole nother situation. Now, yes, you can be being a teacher in the traditional sense is X amount of dollars. Being a teacher, let's say basically you write your own book or you write your own program, is totally different, because now you have expanded and made your profession more scalable. So one of the things that when I talk to young people about what they want to do and what they want to obtain and how they go about doing it, is that you're only limited by your imagination, but at the same time, there is a return on investment. So we're going to talk about management. And main thing about management, when I talk to you or individual, is that you have to, the key thing is cash flow. With cash flowing in and cash flow flowing out, you have to get a handle on that. And the only way that you get a handle on that is by creating a budget, which means basically you have to know what your income is and what your expenses are. There is no way around that, because basically if you don't know where, and what I call where the leaks are, then you won't be able to patch them up or be able to totally eliminate them. So with that is that you have to prioritize certain things. Now, one of the things that I know that is as being increased and rising, and it all depends on where you live, is childcare. And that has really has sapped the income out of especially young parents. Now, 101, I can tell you by creative ways that you can overcome that issue. And that's the reason why you need to talk to somebody like a financial advisor, a fiduciary, or someone like me who is, somewhat knowledgeable in non investigation, to help you walk you through that. Because One of the things that you don't want to do is suffer in silence. One of the things that I would behoove you to do is get some help. You know, if you're in a situation where you financially over your head, ask for some help and ask for somebody who's going to have the compassion enough to walk you through some things. Because if you don't get a handle on your income and expenses and knowing what your assets and liabilities are, is very rarely you'll be able to leverage it. And what I mean by leverage is basically what I said earlier about using other people's money. And what I mean by that is going to a financial institution where basically, if you're looking at a home, you have to have at least 20% to be able to have that mortgage. And if your credit score is really good, you maybe pay 4%, but 4% max. And one of the things that that harm most people is that they have a very poor credit history, which dictates by the credit score, which leads into the next thing, because you're gonna have to protect what you have built. And the thing about it is that insurance is your protection. One of the things that I have ran into, which means I personally, I have a group that we purchased a apartment building, and the apartment building is in the ocean front. Now, that is a very very high tax area. But the problem that it was the challenge that I had, when the problem is that it's so close to the water that the insurance company want to charge me additional insurance just because of the location. So that's one of the things that you need to take care of. Now, last but not least is that with all this going on, building a legacy, which means that goes back to I know home ownership is a big deal, especially coming from where I came from. Home ownership, want to be that part of the legacy, but make sure you have a will, trust, and if you have a family business, make sure you part of the protection is keeping an eye on your name, is putting it in the LLC or corporation. Now, I know I said a whole lot, and the trouble of building wealth is not going away anytime soon. The interest rates are high, and the ability to get loans are even more difficult. But if you have the mindset that you're going to control your expenses and make sure you save and find a way that you can have additional income, that way you'll feel better about what your position is. Thank you for the time that you have given me. I really appreciate it. One of the most valuable things that you have is your time. My time is up, and I thank you for yours.